I'm Sean Devine from Maxwell Auto, Mississauga, Ontario. It's air conditioning time, and we get a lot of phone calls at this time of the year about your air conditioning on your cars. So we're here today to kind of try to tell you a little bit about what we do in the shop here, and there's a couple of little things that maybe we'll let you check before you come in and see what you can do. Now, the most important thing about doing it yourself is to make sure that you're safe when you're doing any of these checks. Number one, refrigerant in any car. If you hit a Schrader valve or a line starts leaking, you got to have safety glasses to make sure that you don't get anything in your eyes, because refrigerant, bad news, it'll just take you out. So safety glasses anytime you're working with refrigerant, it's always a good thing. Number two, stay away from hot parts on the engine. Make sure you stay away from moving parts on the engine. We don't want to lose any fingers or hurt yourself in any way like that. Now, the first thing we want to check is, with the car running, is to turn the air conditioning on, turn the car on, and make sure that the air conditioning compressor comes on and off. It will cycle on most cars. Most cars you'll be able to see this if you look around. Obviously, keep your hands and anything out of the way so you don't get hurt. Your air conditioning compressor hub right here, this will start spinning and go on and off if it's working correctly. And some of them just stay on. Now I'll start the car up and let you see what it does when it's working properly. Now with the car running, you can actually see, I think you can see this front hub piece here moving. You can see it spinning. It will cycle on and off on most cars, okay? And every once in a while you'll hear the fan, the electric fan come on, which will tell you that the air conditioning condenser fans are working properly. The next thing we'll do is we'll check to see the low side and the high side of the AC system. On the low side of the AC system is always a thicker line than a thinner line. These are your two AC lines: low side, bigger; high side, smaller. So you got to be careful with the high side. You always do this with the engine running with AC on. Now the AC, when it's on, the high side, the smaller one, will be hot. And it could be hot to the touch too, like burn you almost. So it could be maybe 250 degrees. So you just don't be holding it like this. You gotta give it a quick, yes, it's hot. Yes, it's cold. Next, I want to talk about airflow. When you turn your air conditioning on, the blower fan comes on, inside and outside the car. Now your blower motor on this car, which is quite conveniently located for us in this picture, is right here. This blower motor here sucks air from outside or inside, depending on the position you put. So if you put it on recirculated air, it doesn't come from in here anymore. It comes from inside the car. That's quite important, is when it's 30, 35 degrees out and you're trying to cool down the air from outside. Well, inside already is maybe 20, 25 degrees. It's a lot easier for the car to get rid of the humidity and give you cold air if you use inside air. Now, another thing that's very important in this shot here, it's very easy to see, is the hood seal. So when your hood is closed, the hood comes down and seals it up here. So the fresh air from outside is being drawn in these vents here. So then the hot air of the engine is not going to be sucked in, and you have to work really hard. That air conditioning has to work really hard to get it cold. Okay, next we start to look for oil residue around the system. Okay, you look at all the lines and everything, and I don't know if you can see it in the video, but down here on top of this accumulator, you can see some oil residue there. Now in this circumstance, it ends up that it's part of the engine oil leak, which I mentioned before. You got to be careful of, other systems spraying oil on things that is not air conditioning. So we would look for the residue around stuff and make sure that that is either an AC leak or an oil leak. Okay, next on the list here is the debris and the cooling fan systems. So what we do is we gotta make sure that there's no debris, which your radiator is underneath here and your condenser is underneath here, and your cooling fan is down in front of both of them. So what you got to do is make sure there's no debris in front of your condenser or debris in between your condenser and your radiator, because that will restrict the airflow and will not allow it to cool properly. And then actually it'll end up probably causing your air conditioning condenser to fail because the pressures were too high. So you got to make sure that the condenser, there's no dirt in front of the radiator, and make sure that the radiator fan comes on when it's supposed to. So that wraps up things that we do when we start to look at your air conditioning system. We've checked your condenser for debris, we've checked for oil residue, we've checked to make sure the compressor is coming on and off, and we've checked your airflow to make sure that the AC is going to come in the system properly. Okay, now those are things that you could do yourself. The next step would be to get it to a reputable shop like Maxwell Auto, and we will start doing our checks on our side, which would be putting the gauges on, filling it up if we need to, and then doing our leak tests. So if you have any questions or concerns, give us a call at Maxwell Auto. The number is 905-670-9314.